Hey y'all, this is Eric from the beautiful state of Alabama.
And I'm Jerry in Boston, Massachusetts. We want to welcome our listeners from the United States and around the world. It's another Sunday podcast. It's summertime, summertime. I know our listeners told me not to sing anymore, but I could not resist with that quick weather update. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I am tired. How are you?
I am better than I deserve. Why are you tired?
Been driving all day.
You took a little trip.
Yeah, we went to Pennsylvania to a family place up there in the mountains, working on it and trying to fix it up. So drove back today.
How far of a ride? How many hours is that ride?
About 12 hours, 13 depending on traffic.
A long ride.
Yes, it is.
How was traffic?
Traffic was fine. A little slow in Nashville, that's usual. But everywhere else was great.
Yeah, Nashville is still probably under all the construction. Plus, they have an NHL playoff game going on there around this time, so lots of people hanging out in Nashville. And they're opening everything up down there, so some of the bars and restaurants and things are opening up, which is good news. I enjoyed going to Nashville, and hopefully we'll be there in 2021. A little housekeeping for our listeners, if I may do so for just a moment. The episode that dropped last week that talked about the rideshare stories, that episode actually fell out of sequence because we dropped a Mother's Day episode in the middle of that. So that kind of, I guess, outdated some of the information that we had. So I wanted to clean up some of that and first let everybody know that you did, in fact, graduate from college. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I know it's a miracle, but it happened.
Also, we had provided an update on our friend Tom, who had some surgery and was recovering. And the update is he is doing very well. He is home and recovering very nicely. So still has a little bit more work to have done, and but nothing as serious as what was going on. So that is great news. So we want to continue to wish Tom well, and hopefully he will be back on his feet and working back at the bowling alley by this fall. This was also supposed to be our episode where we had a guest who was going to talk a little bit about some paranormal stories and experiences, and unfortunately she is not able to make it to this episode due to some family emergency. We want to wish her well, and hopefully all of that will work itself out very quickly, but she is going to be on a future episode, so we look forward to having her join us and tell us some of her experiences with the paranormal. And I don't even know if you know this. This is kind of breaking news for us here. Our good friend and recurring podcast guest, Taylor Bloom, has got a couple of projects going on. And I told him that I would mention this, and he'll come on in a future episode as well. He's working on, there's two major projects. First, his second album, which is going to actually be recorded, I say live, but they're all going to be together for if you remember his last album, his first album, My Father Before Me, was all done literally virtually. everybody did their parts and it all got kind of pieced together. Nobody was in the same room. And he is actually going to be with all of the members of the band, and they're going to record that together. So that should be exciting. So we'll have him on to talk about that in the future. And he's also doing something interesting. He has worked with a friend of his on recording music under a name of Coastline with his friend Riley. And he has let me know that they are going to be doing something in July, whereas people can pre-order this album or various songs or song that he's recording, and it will be personalized. So if you ordered this record from them, they'll actually mention you by name and greet you before the music. Some sort of new technology. And as we get closer to that, we'll have some links on our podcast description on the website to people who want to click on that and maybe pre-order. So I think that's pretty much the updates. How be you?
I'm fine. So how are you doing? Doing all right?
I think I covered that. I'm doing good.
Yeah.
I'm doing good.
Well,
Okay.
how is the eating regimen going?
The eating regimen. Thank you for asking, and to the listeners as well who from time to time have asked that. Thank you. Actually, better than I expected. So I started this in March. And I'm not sure if I got into all of the details, and I won't go into all of the details, but essentially just watching the types of food I eat, exercising, limiting the calories, staying away from the carbs, and at the 8-week mark, I said I was going to step on the scale for the first time since the regimen started. And to my complete surprise, I have lost 40 pounds.
Nice.
I had to use 2 scales because I didn't believe the first one. But yeah, 40 pounds, and we'll.
And how many months has it been?
It was 8 weeks, so 2 months.
Wow.
So it's
That's
about
awesome.
it's about 5 pounds a week, which is expected. It'll taper off as I get lower. The bigger you are, I think the more weight initially comes off. But the program is great. In fact, I had just signed up for a program, kind of a support group at work that focuses mostly on people who are candidates to become inflicted with type 2 diabetes, which I do not have. However, I could end up with that because I meet all of the criteria. So if I don't do something, if I'm not doing what I'm doing now, I could end up that. But this is a support group where they, with some nutritionists in a hospital, that is all done virtually. And they meet, I think, a couple of times a month in conference calls and things like that, and give you a bunch of ideas and kind of some direction on how to continue to lose weight and prevent yourself from getting type 2 diabetes. So
yeah, it's good to hear too what works for other people and what doesn't work and what may work for you. And, that I always, it's good to, throw ideas off of each other. And so,
and to have an expert,
yeah,
or experts on the panel or in the group
right.
that can, kind of guide you in a certain way. Because as I mentioned before, it's a difficult process. At least it has been for me. And so it seemed to be working. So thank you for asking. Thank you for the listeners for asking and for their support as well. I'm going to continue, and now that the weather is even nicer, I can do some outdoor exercising, which is awesome. So on the Mother's Day episode, you mentioned receiving some steaks and celebrating your graduation, and that I had sent you. And I received a very lovely, I know the listeners can't see this, but a very nice postcard or card.
Colonial, like a Colonial Williamsburg.
It is Colonial Williamsburg. And a very nice note in here saying thank you and explaining that you shared the steaks with Mom. So it was a dual gift. It was a graduation gift and a Mother's Day dinner. And she was very...
I debated about that, but no, just kidding.
She was very grateful. And I won't read the card, but I have to... I just have to take this one line and share this with you. And she said, I guess Erich should be writing this, but since I got to enjoy the steaks, I thought I should say thank you as well.
I'm not, we were talking about that the other day. It's like when it comes to writing letters or thank you notes or things like that, I'm not good at writing letters and thank yous. I will sit there for an hour and get 2 words on the page and sit there and be like, what do I say? How do I say this? I know how I feel. I'm thankful and I'm glad and I wish the other person well, but it's like I don't know how to put it into a letter format.
I was never a good letter writer myself. I always felt phone calls or face-to-face.
Yes.
When it was played. Yeah, thank yous were appropriate. I have written thank you letters, but basically I made myself probably look like an idiot a couple times because I get way too wordy, So you have trouble figuring out what to say. I have trouble shutting up. I'll run the ink out of a pen saying thank you when simply thank you is all you need to say,
Yeah, thanks for the steaks, whatever, and then put it on a...
And which you did multiple times in
good.
text messages and phone calls and things like that. So I'm glad you enjoyed that, and I'm glad Mom and the family enjoyed them as well. So that was nice of you to share.
Those were good. Man, shameless. Well, not a shameless plug, but...
It's a free plug for them.
So, yeah, I mean, I would recommend Kansas City Steak Company, hands down. Those steaks that you sent were the best I've ever had. Just beautiful and tasty, tender. Oh my gosh, so good.
I have been fortunate enough to receive some of the steaks from that company that you sent me back, I think, Christmas time. And absolutely right. I mean, there are other companies out there that had great steaks. This was by far the best. It's a premium. You can go to the website and find deals and kind of things like that. But you'll pay a premium price for them. But they're absolutely delicious. And whatever that secret seasoning that they use make is just out of this world. You said you tried to duplicate it, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm not sure because sometimes chefs, like if you ever watch Gordon Ramsay's cooking shows or whatever, he'll do the blindfold test where he'll have somebody taste something and say, "Tell me what's in that." And so I'm no chef by any means, but I've tried it and tried to figure out what's in it, and so, but I have yet to crack the code, but I'm working on it. So I know for sure about 3 ingredients, but I think I'm missing something.
You know what else I discovered? I don't know if you've tried almond milk.
You were telling me about that, and I have not tried that, to be honest with you. And this is just my own personal preference, but I am a purist. Like when it comes to milk, whole milk and nothing else. Like I don't drink 2%. I don't drink skim milk, and it if you know if it came down to you can have 2% milk or no milk, I'll just go with no milk. So I don't get into the almond milk or the soy milk or whatever, but
Right.
that's just me personally.
Somebody recommended almond milk, low in calories. I thought I'd taste it. Without what I do is I mix it in this protein shake that I use and add fruit and things like that. But drinking it like I had, I think, a quarter of a cup or something. I just took this big gulp of it. I don't recommend that. Like just disgusting.
I've always wondered how they milk the almonds because I mean, I've had almonds before, but I've never seen any udders on them.
And who is milking these things? That's a
I
good.
know, right? Must have very small hands.
It, we'll have to look that up. And you know what? In fact, let's find out who does the milking of these almonds and invite them on the show. You talked about writing letters. I had a passenger in the rideshare not too long ago, and we got into the generational differences between my generation and, say, your generation.
Talking
And,
about my generation. I'm sorry.
and I think she said that she was I'm going to get this right, an X-lennial. Have you heard this term?
I have not.
Is Gen X before? What's the one right before millennial? Is that Gen X?
I think Gen X, yeah.
Okay. And she was trying to tell me that she was an Xennial or something like that. She's like right on that cusp. And we get talking about the difference in generations and how you were talking about writing letters, and we were talking about everybody uses email now. That nobody writes letters. Nobody puts stamps on. She was talking about how her niece or nephew, she was trying to say, write me a letter, and they didn't know where to put the stamp. Kind of interesting how things have changed. I just recently saw a video where they put a rotary dial phone in front of some youngsters, probably about 14 or 15 years old, and they were told dial this number, and they had no idea what the device was or how it worked. And one of the funny parts of the video was when they picked up the receiver and heard the dial tone, they got nervous and slammed it down. It scared them. So we'll talk more about generational things in upcoming episodes because I have a list of things that we talked about with this rideshare passenger.
One interesting thing you may care to know, or I don't know, some of the listeners may be freaked out by this, but when we were up in Pennsylvania, we saw 4 snakes in a week.
I'm not sure. Is that unusual?
Huh? Yes. All the times I've ever been up there, I've maybe seen 1 snake. But I think a lot of it had to do because of the spring. In the springtime, it's warm during the day, and the snakes come out, but then it gets cool in the afternoon, and then they can't move around as well, so you end up stumbling across them. Because usually, a snake will get out of the way before you even see it. It knows you're coming, and it'll skedaddle.
Are you able to identify
Yeah.
snakes? Do you know what these were?
Yeah, well, and we had a debate over it, and we had to look it up and everything. So, but we found a baby ringneck under a rock.
Now I know
all of them were non-poisonous.
Okay, ringnecks can be poisonous, can they not?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
I don't know much about snakes, but I have heard people recently talking about ring snakes.
So yeah, the ringneck snake. It's just black and it's got a ring around its neck, and that's and then we saw 2 different garter snakes. I found one dead that was in the road, and I guess somebody had ran over it. Probably it couldn't get out in time, and got little snakes, not very big. We saw another garter snake that was eating a salamander. We saw him actually eat the salamander. It was cool. So, and then Dad almost stepped on a milk snake one night. So, but But yeah, it's unusual for us to see snakes up there. Usually we're there, when it's warmer, but we saw 4 different snakes this go around. So I guess that was kind of the theme of the trip.
This was the hunting cabin, hunting snakes.
Uh,
It might. I wonder if it's mating season for the snakes, and
I
that's
don't know.
why you saw them. But are you up there this time of year normally anyway?
No.
Yeah, that could be. This might be just a
Yeah.
normal. I haven't seen snakes around here in many years. But what we do have a lot of here is rabbits and birds. The birds are up before the sun,
Yeah.
and now with the night weather and the windows open, could be 4:30 in the morning, and the sun's just starting to come up, and the birds are out there screaming.
I don't know. I find that very nice, especially like on a weekend where you wake up and the birds are all talking to each other. Maybe at 4:30 in the
At
morning.
4:30 in the morning on a
yeah,
weekend, it's a little bit much for me, but
Yeah.
it's nature. Hey, have you seen any of the cicadas in your neck of the woods?
We have those things everywhere now. Last year, because I've heard people talking about it. I think I don't know. There's maybe a news story about it, but I think they hatch every 7 years. And there's certain different species that hatch. I don't know how all it works, but last year I know we had a bunch here in Alabama, and you could see the shell, like on the columns of a house or a porch or something like that. You could see the shell stuck to the side of the column, I guess, where they had shed the shell. But
yeah, they've been talking about it in the news up here. I have not seen any here in New England yet, or if we would, they did say to expect them in this area. It's 17 years. Every 17 years, these they emerge, and researchers are still baffled as to why it takes 17 years. I mean, there's some theories, I guess, of why they stay underground, and it could be, to avoid predators, because once they come out, I mean, the birds just go crazy. In fact, I read an article where people were talking about they were afraid their dogs and their pets were eating these things, and they said no, it's fine. It's actually not bad, not bad.
Yeah.
It's a good source of protein or something. But it's
isn't it amazing that we can put a helicopter or we can put a drone on Mars, and we don't understand why the cicadas only hatch every 17 years. Isn't that ridiculous? Isn't that funny? I don't know.
fun. Yeah, funny. I don't think it's ridiculous. I think it's funny that. But
It's funny that we can go to other planets, and yet we don't know everything about this one.
And I think that's because we make these, right? We make the drones and the helicopters on Mars, and those things are all made by us. Nature is just, it's nature. There's a lot of things about nature we certainly don't understand. And I think we're better off not understanding it, because we don't want to mess it up. If 17 years cicada and we figure out some scientific thing on how to make them come out every 5 years or some crazy thing, we may not see them again. So
Yeah.
who knows? They're ugly looking suckers. They can be scary for people that don't know what they are, but they don't bite, they don't sting, they just kind of fly around and they hit you, and usually they don't last very long, because again, the birds, squirrels, snakes, all those types of creatures will eat them for protein. In fact, humans can eat them. Now, it's in this article again that I read, it said that humans can actually eat these suckers, and I mean, I just don't see it as part of my regimen, because for me, I'd have to put some, pasta sauce or chocolate or something on them, because I just couldn't. Maybe for on a bet. Have to be a lot of money.
You've never had fried cicadas?
Not in my lifetime. No, that sounds like something that would be indigenous to like Birmingham. Hey, we got a couple of listener comments I wanted to share with you. First of all, we have a listener from Montreal, Canada, Montreal, Quebec. Thank you very much, and welcome to the show. Hopefully, you enjoy what you've listened to, and you will continue to listen. And you are in a beautiful, beautiful city. I have spent quite a number of trips up to the great city of Montreal. And mostly in the winter, I will tell you, it's the coldest I've ever been in my entire life. I was walking around the streets of Montreal and loving every minute of it. It's a beautiful city. Folks, if you have not been to Montreal, find a way to get there because, even Old Montreal, what they call Old Montreal, is absolutely gorgeous. Downtown Montreal, and the reason we went on these trips were for Boston Bruins hockey games. There used to be a huge rivalry back a number of years ago where the Bruins and the Canadiens would play each other. And we would travel, a group of us. There was originally 6 of us, so we called ourselves the Original Six, for any NHL fans that understands that. The original 6 teams in the National Hockey League. And we would drive up. It's about a 6-hour ride from Boston. And we would drive up one straight road all the way, and we'd go up, and we would stay in a hotel in downtown Montreal. And because Montreal gets so cold in the wintertime, they have an underground city, which is just amazing. It's like being in a huge shopping mall, but you're underground. They have a subway system, what they call the Metro, which runs like a subway train. New York subways, Boston subways. But they run on rubber wheels, which to me was fascinating that you don't hear them like you would hear the screeching metal of a subway.
Oh, that could be dangerous.
And they are, well, if you're in front of them, yes. But the funny thing is there's no track. It's just a tunnel, and it's dug deep. You know, you stand on a platform like you normally would, but the train runs on rubber wheels, like a car, actually, a car wheel, which was pretty cool. I don't know what happens if they get a flat, but there's not a whole lot of things on the subway road or the metro tracks, I guess it would cause a flat. But we would stay in this hotel, and we got lucky the first year we went up that this was the same hotel that the hockey team stayed at. So when we had gone downstairs for breakfast in the morning, we literally had breakfast with several of the Boston Bruins of those years, and we continuously went back to this hotel. The neat thing was, because again it was so cold, and the arena was probably 2 blocks from the hotel, an easy walk. But when you have a temperature of 17 below zero and a wind chill in the minus 40s Fahrenheit, it's a little cold. But there's an elevator in the hotel that takes you down to the metro level where you can literally walk underground for those 2 blocks and pop up in the lobby of the Bell Center where the Montreal Canadiens play hockey. You never have to go outside. It's incredible. And that's what we did. And we used to go up. It used to be Easter weekend. So we would drive up on Good Friday. The game was always Saturday night. And we would be home Sunday morning in time for Easter dinner, Sunday afternoon. And lots of bars, a lot of adult entertainment establishments up there for those who are interested in that. But for the most part, friendly people, unless you're wearing a Bruins jersey, then it might get a little bit interesting. But beautiful city. I was up there one time in the summer. A friend of mine was involved in managing a drum and bugle corps that his kids were in. And he asked me if I would chaperone the the team, I guess, the drum and bugle team. And we went up in the summer and went to the Montreal, I think it was Expo Stadium, where the Olympics were. And it's just beautiful in the summer. Just beautiful. So much up there to do in the summer. Lots of it's a huge walking city. Highly recommend if you ever get the opportunity to go up to Montreal. So welcome to our Montreal listener, and thank you. And we got we actually got two other comments on our recent podcast, and both of them referred to your laugh. And I know you're looking at me. Folks can't see this because obviously we're not on video, but you have this very perplexed look on your face. They love your laugh. One comment was, he has a very infectious laugh. So.
Well, thank you. I was wondering where that was going.
So thank you to those listeners who commented on Eric's laugh. And thank you for listening to the show. Well, Eric, I think for a show that was not planned, we've run out of time. We've probably gone overtime. That's all I got, my friend. I'm going to leave the final words to you.
Y'all just remember to roll with the changes.
It's Another Sunday Podcast. It's produced by Erich and Gerry. Music composed by Tom Blaze and performed by Tom Blaze. Check out his YouTube channel for all of his content at Tom Blaze. Thank you again for listening. That's going to do it for this episode of It's Another Sunday Podcast. Until next week.